When you first hear the name IC 1101, it doesn't sound like much. It sounds cold, like a code, like a catalog entry sitting quietly inside an astronomer's notebook. It does not announce itself like a giant. It doesn't roar like a cosmic titan. Instead, it waits, patient and silent, floating in the darkness of the universe like an ancient kingdom made of stars. But the moment you begin to understand what it truly is, the moment you grasp the sheer scale of this thing, your imagination loses balance. Your sense of size and proportion collapses. Because IC 1101 is not just a galaxy, it's a vast empire carved into the fabric of space, a structure so large, so impossibly massive, that numbers begin to fail as you try to hold it in your mind. Imagine standing somewhere deep in the cosmos, far beyond our Milky Way, far beyond any star we know. In every direction, darkness stretches outward like an infinite field, and then, far off, like the glow of an entire world catching fire, you see a faint golden haze. It's not one star, it's not 10,000 stars. It's trillions, countless suns blending together until their light becomes a golden mist. You drift closer and the haze grows larger and larger, swelling like a celestial sunrise. Then you realize what you're looking at. You are approaching the largest galaxy humanity has ever discovered, 6 million light years. Try to hold that distance in your mind. If you traveled at the speed of light, which is impossible for any human-built ship today, you would have to sprint through space for 6 million years just to cross its length. 6 million years ago, Earth was populated by early human ancestors, creatures who walked upright for the first time. Imagine that. A journey across this galaxy would take you longer than the entire history of humanity. And yet IC 1101 simply exists out there, unbothered, stretching across a section of space so vast that calling it big feels like calling the ocean a puddle. As you drift closer in this imaginary journey, the galaxy's outer halo comes into view. It isn't sharp or defined. Instead, it's like a glowing cloud, a soft, luminous smear of ancient stars that have been wandering through this giant for billions of years. Many of them are older than our sun, older than the Earth, older than most things we can measure. They burn with a dim, golden light, the kind of glow that only comes from stars nearing the end of their cosmic lifespan. The galaxy itself feels ancient, like a massive library of time, where every star is a page filled with stories too old for us to read. Move further inward and the glow intensifies. Each second brings you closer to regions where stars crowd together like grains of sand. Their collective light is so bright that darkness struggles to survive. The galaxy becomes a city, a cosmic metropolis stretching farther than your imagination can follow. Here, solar systems are neighbors separated by distances that, in human terms, are still unimaginable. But compared to the size of the galaxy itself, they feel close, almost intimate. And as you drift deeper, you begin to understand the weight of this place. Every star has its own planets, its own mysteries, its own orbits carved from gravity and time. Some planets may be barren, frozen worlds drifting around dying stars. Others may be covered in oceans of fire, or storms that blanket the entire planet in thunder for centuries. And somewhere, maybe in one of those trillions of planetary systems, life might exist, life that evolved under a completely different sky, sighting suns that rise and fall in colors no human eye hath ever seen. The deeper you go, the more staggering the scale becomes. You pass through regions where star clusters sit like massive jewels, each containing thousands of suns. Then you cross dark lanes where dust clouds drift like shadows cast by invisible giants. And all the while, the galaxy grows brighter, richer, more alive. Finally, you reach the center, the heart of IC 1101. 101 is unlike anything you've ever seen. It glows with an intensity that doesn't simply shine, it radiates. The core is a sphere of stellar fire, a dense, blazing concentration of stars so tightly packed that they begin to blur together. The brightness is overwhelming. Here, gravity is king. Every star orbits with perfect obedience, pulled into a dance that has lasted since the early universe. And at the very center sits a supermassive black hole, a creature of unimaginable force, a gravitational titan weighing billions of times more than our sun. It is silent, invisible, yet its presence shapes the motion of everything around it. Around this central black hole is chaos, beautiful chaos. Stars whip around at speeds no human could comprehend. Gas clouds spiral inward, glowing as they heat up. Dust swirls in circles that have existed since before Earth was born. This is a place where time loses meaning, where creation and destruction happen in the same breath. The core of IC 1101 is not just a region, it's an event, a continuous act of cosmic power, but IC 1101 wasn't always this big. It wasn't born a giant, it became one. Imagine billions of years passing, entire civilizations on Earth rising and falling, continents forming and breaking apart, while IC 1101 quietly grew in the background of the universe. It expanded like a kingdom that conquered everything around it. When smaller galaxies came too close, they were pulled in. Their stars were stripped away, absorbed into the endless haze of IC 1101's outer regions. Their cores merged into this colossal structure. One by one, over billions of years, galaxies disappeared into the belly of the Titan. It is a cosmic cannibal, a devourer of galaxies, a celestial empire built from the remains of countless others. Each time it consumed a galaxy, IC 1101 grew larger, its halo expanded, its core tightened, its black hole became more massive. And with every merger, the shape of the galaxy changed slightly, becoming rounder, smoother, and more enormous. It is a survivor, a conqueror, a monument to the raw, untouched power of the universe. The thought that such a galaxy exists beyond our reach, far beyond our Milky Way, is both humbling and thrilling. And here is something even more beautiful. When we look at IC 1101 today, we are not seeing it as it is now. We are seeing it as it was 1 billion years ago. The light that reaches our telescopes began its journey long before humans existed. Long before Earth had continents that look anything like they do now. That light left the galaxy when the planet was still young, when only simple forms of life existed in our oceans. And after traveling for 1 billion years with no rest, no pause, no interference, it arrived here, gently landing in the detectors of our telescopes. Think about that. A message from a galaxy so massive it breaks imagination, traveling across time itself, carrying the ancient glow of stars that no longer exist. Some of the stars whose light we see from IC 1101 may have died millions of years ago, but their final photons continued their journey through the void until at last they arrived here. And in those tiny packets of light, we read the story of the universe. Astronomers, when they first realized the scale of IC 1101, were stunned. They had known big galaxies existed, they had seen giants before, but nothing matched the vastness of IC 1101. Nothing stretched across such an unimaginable span of space, nothing contained such an overwhelming number of stars. It became a symbol, a reminder that the universe is far larger than our minds can comfortably grasp. And yet, despite its size, despite its age, despite its unimaginable power, IC 1101 sits in a corner of the cosmos where no human will ever stand. We will never touch it, never approach it, never travel across it. It exists entirely beyond us, a silent giant in the darkness. But here's the miracle. You don't have to travel to it to understand it. You don't need a spaceship that moves at light speed. You don't need to live for 1 million years. Your mind alone is powerful enough to cross the distance, to explore its depths, to picture its vastness, to feel its presence. That is the wonder of being human, a galaxy 6 million light years across, containing trillions of stars floating a billion light years away, and somehow you can imagine it. Somehow you can hold it inside your thoughts. Somehow your curiosity stretches farther than the galaxy itself. And so, IC 1101 is more than a discovery. It is a lesson, a challenge, a reminder. It shows us that the universe does not fit inside the limits of our imagination. It demands that our imagination expand. It pushes our minds into new territories, beyond the comfort of numbers and into the realm of cosmic awe. Even now, as you think about IC 1101, even as you try to picture that glowing giant suspended in space, your mind is growing. Your sense of scale is stretching beyond what you've ever known. You are standing in the presence of something so large that your thoughts must rise to meet it. And in that moment, something beautiful happens. You realize that the universe is not just bigger than your imagination. It is what your imagination was built to explore. There is a strange thing that happens when you try to imagine the scale of the universe. Your mind begins with confidence. You picture planets, stars, galaxies. You feel like you understand the big picture. But then, as the distances stretch farther and the numbers grow larger, something inside you quietly snaps. Your imagination hits a wall. It's like trying to stretch a rubber band past its limit. It just doesn't go any further. And that is exactly what happens when we try to imagine a galaxy so big that even light, traveling at the fastest speed known to the laws of physics, would need 6 million years to cross it. 6 million years. Even saying the words doesn't make them any easier to grasp. Light, which moves at 300 kilometers every second, a speed so fast it circles Earth 7.5 times in a single heartbeat, struggles against the size of this galaxy like a runner lost inside an endless desert. Let your mind drift into this desert for a moment. Imagine light itself, the fastest traveler in the universe, starting its journey from one end of the galaxy. At first, it races confidently, slicing through space with ease, illuminating scattered stars in its path. Seconds pass, then minutes, then hours. Light doesn't tire, it doesn't slow down, it has no mass to drag it backward. But as it races through the endless expanse of this galaxy, the scale of the journey begins to reveal itself. Hours turn into days, days into months, months into years. A human lifetime passes in the blink of an eye as light continues its relentless sprint. It keeps going just as fast, never stopping, never pausing, yet the galaxy is still not even halfway crossed. Civilizations rise and fall, ice ages come and go, entire species evolve and vanish. Light keeps running. Thousands of years, hundreds of thousands, millions, and still it must continue for millions more before it reaches the other side. To truly feel this, imagine Earth 6 million years ago. Human beings didn't exist. Our ancestors were early hominins, creatures who lived in forests, picking fruits, learning to walk upright, unaware that one day their descendants would look up at the sky and try to measure the universe. Think of that enormous stretch of time, 6 million years. And now imagine that is how long light must travel just to get from one edge of this galaxy to the other. If you tried to put 6 million years into a story, you would need to include every human civilization that ever existed and still not stretch far enough. That is how enormous this galaxy truly is. The mind can't hold the size. It tries, but the numbers behave like smoke, slipping through your grasp, dissolving into meaninglessness. You can picture 100 meters. You can imagine 1,000 kilometers if you try hard enough. But when you move into the realm of light, years, units that represent the distance light travels in a year, your imagination begins to tremble. One light year alone is nearly 10 trillion kilometers. Now multiply that by 6 million. The distance becomes so immense that the human mind, bound by a lifetime of small experiences, rooms, buildings, roads, cities, cannot stretch enough to truly grasp it. You can say the words, you can memorize the number, but you cannot feel the reality of the size the way you can feel the space inside your home or the distance between two places you've walked. And yet, this galaxy exists exactly as it is, indifferent to your struggle. It floats silently in the cosmos, stretching across millions of light years with the calm confidence of something that has existed for billions of years. It does not boast, it does not demand to be understood, it simply is, a monument to the vastness of reality. A reminder that the universe is not designed to be comfortable for human thought, it is designed to be vast. Now imagine yourself drifting toward this galaxy from afar, as if riding on a beam of light yourself. At first you see only a faint blur, a golden smudge against a black sea. It feels small from a distance, everything does. But as you glide closer, the blur expands, it becomes a haze, the haze becomes a structure, and then gradually the true size reveals itself in slow, breathtaking waves. The galaxy grows until it fills your entire field of vision. One edge lies beyond the horizon of sight. The other edge disappears into darkness. It is like approaching a continent made not of land and water, but of stars. The outer halo is the first region you pass through. It is a quiet, ghostly place where light is soft and stars are spread far apart. These are the oldest members of the galaxy, aged suns that have watched cosmic eras pass like chapters in a book. They burn with dim golden fire, each one telling the story of a time when the galaxy was much younger and much smaller. Their orbits carry them slowly through this vast region, like ancient monks wandering alone through a silent temple. As you travel deeper, the glow intensifies, stars begin to gather more closely, their light blends into rivers of brightness. Clusters appear, pockets of thousands of stars packed together like jewels inside a chest. The galaxy becomes denser, brighter, more alive. The colors shift from gold to blue to white as different kinds of stars pass beneath you. Some are hot young suns burning with fierce brilliance. Others are massive red giants nearing the end of their lives, glowing like embers in a cosmic furnace. But no matter how far you travel, no matter how deep you go, you still have not crossed even a fraction of the galaxy. Light has traveled far longer than you can truly imagine, but it still has millions of years left. That is the scale of this place. A scale so immense that even the fastest phenomenon in the universe struggles to overcome it. Now picture an imaginary traveler, someone who lives for only 100 years. If that traveler boarded a ship that could move at the speed of light, what would they see? They would start their journey on one end of the galaxy, full of excitement, full of hope. They would see stars flash by in dazzling streams. They would witness nebulae glowing in colors beyond human painting. They would pass star clusters like floating fireworks. But by the time they reached the end of their life, by the time their ship recorded 100 years, just a blink in cosmic terms, they would have traveled such a tiny fraction of the galaxy that the starting point and destination would seem equally distant, equally unreachable. Their entire life would pass, and the galaxy would still appear nearly endless. That is how big this galaxy is. It contains distances so huge that human lifespans, planetary timescales, even entire civilizations are meaningless in comparison. Light itself, the fastest traveler known, is humbled by this size, and in that humbling there is something incredibly beautiful. Because it shows us that the universe is not small enough to fit comfortably inside human expectations. It refuses to be limited by our imagination. It forces us to grow. When astronomers try to explain these distances, they often use metaphors. They compare galaxies to islands of stars. They describe light, years like steps in a cosmic journey. But even metaphors begin to crack under the weight of this scale. How do you compare 6 million light years to anything in human life? You cannot. You can only surrender to the realization that this scale is beyond you. It's too large to visualize, too enormous to simulate, too vast to draw. You cannot fit it into a textbook or a diagram. The size of this galaxy reaches beyond the limits of educational models and into the realm of existential awe. Yet, strangely, this it is what makes the universe meaningful. If everything were small enough to imagine, nothing would challenge you. Nothing would inspire you. Nothing would push you to expand your mind. But when you confront something this big, your imagination stretches. It attempts the impossible. It reaches past what it has known and tries to enter a space far greater than itself. Even though it fails to fully grasp the size, the attempt changes you, it expands you, it gives you a feeling that can only be described as cosmic wonder. This wonder grows the more you think about it. Consider that inside this galaxy, inside that 6 million light-year expanse, there are perhaps 100 trillion stars. 100 trillion suns, 100 trillion possibilities for planets, 100 trillion chances for worlds, atmospheres, oceans, climates, moons, and maybe, just maybe, life. Each star is separated from its neighbors by vast distances so large that even at light speed, travel between neighboring systems could take decades or centuries. And yet, compared to the monstrous size of the whole galaxy, these star distances feel small, almost intimate. Now, step back further. Imagine this galaxy not as a single structure, but as one among billions. Billions of galaxies float through the universe like glowing petals scattered across a cosmic ocean. Some are small, some are bright, some are faint, but none of them stretch as far as this one. None of them push the limits of scale the way this one does. It is not just a galaxy, it is a boundary, a frontier, a place where human understanding begins to dissolve and cosmic reality takes over. And here is the most astonishing truth of all. The universe is even bigger than this. The galaxy that strains your imagination is only one piece of a universe so vast that even 6 million light years becomes a small number. The universe is expanding, stretching outward like a living organism, pushing galaxies farther apart at speeds that increase over time. One day, distant galaxies will be so far away that their light will no longer reach us. They will slip beyond the horizon of visibility, leaving us alone inside a shrinking bubble of observable space. Ike 1101, massive as it is, will eventually become unreachable, its light fading into silence as the universe expands faster than the light it emits. And that is why imagining this galaxy, feeling its size, attempting to grasp its scale, these things matter. They remind you that the universe is not a small place made for small thoughts. It is a vast, almost impossible reality that challenges everything about human perception. It shows you that your imagination is not broken for failing to understand. It is simply facing something too big to fit inside the boundaries of the human brain. In the end, the size of this galaxy does not make you insignificant. It makes you extraordinary, because even though the galaxy is too vast for your mind to fully imagine, you are still trying. You are reaching, you are expanding the boundaries of your thoughts, you are stretching your imagination into places it has never gone before. And that act, the act of trying to imagine the unimaginable, is what makes humanity special. The biggest galaxy we've ever discovered is bigger than your imagination. But your imagination grows each time you try, and in that expansion you discover the real truth. Not that the universe is too big, but that your mind is always capable of becoming bigger. When we look out into the universe and see a galaxy as unbelievably enormous as IC 1101, it's tempting to think it simply appeared that way, formed big, lived big, and stayed big. But nothing in the cosmos is born a giant. Titans are not created in silence. They are shaped through violence, through collision, through the slow and relentless process of swallowing the world around them. And the story of the biggest galaxy we've ever discovered is not a peaceful one. It is a story written in cosmic dust and shattered starlight, a tale of mergers so colossal that they reshape the structure of space itself. If galaxies could speak, IC 1001 would tell a story not of quiet growth, but of conquest centuries of cosmic cannibalism stretching across billions upon billions of years. To imagine this story, you must first understand the environment where IC 1001 lives. It sits in the middle of a galaxy cluster, an enormous gathering of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of galaxies all drifting inside a gravitational well like fish inside a deep, unseen ocean. In a place like this, gravity is the king. It pulls galaxies toward each other the way storms pull waves across the sea. The closer they drift, the stronger the attraction becomes, and eventually the final dance begins, a merger that will change them forever. Imagine one of these early moments billions of years ago, long before Earth existed, long before the Sun was even a dream inside a collapsing cloud of gas. The cluster was young then, filled with galaxies that were small and bright, each one glowing like a jewel suspended in the black. These galaxies drifted through the cluster with slow grace, unaware that gravity was already weaving their eventual fates together. One of them, small but determined, began to drift too close to another. It moved silently. There is no sound in space. But the moment they touched gravitationally, everything began to change. Picture the shapes of these galaxies as they feel each other's pull. Their elegant spirals bend and twist, as though invisible hands were stretching them from either side. Their stars shift into new patterns, tracing long, glowing bridges between the two merging bodies. These bridges, made of tens of thousands of suns, stretch across space like luminous scars, glowing with the heat and chaos of the collision. Dust clouds, previously drifting gently through each galaxy, are thrown into storms. Gas compresses, igniting bursts of new star formation. Some stars are flung outward into intergalactic space, becoming cosmic wanderers with no home galaxy to call their own. And over millions of years, the two galaxies, once independent and beautiful in their own right, merge into something bigger, heavier, more complex. Now imagine this happening not once, but dozens of times, hundreds of times. IC 1001 did not become a monster through a single merger. It grew the way a mountain rises layer by layer, collision by collision, each one shattering the shape of the galaxy and rebuilding it into something even larger. Every smaller galaxy that wandered too close became food for the Titan. It was pulled apart, its stars scattered like dust into the massive halo of IC 1001, its core swallowed, its history erased and rewritten as part of the larger whole. One by one, these galaxies fell, spirals, ellipticals, irregular shapes, bright young galaxies filled with blue stars. Old, dying galaxies glowing like embers fading away. Each one was consumed, its stars mixed into the growing population of IC 1001. And over billions of years, the galaxy became rounder, smoother, more massive. The delicate spiral arms disappeared, replaced by a massive, featureless glow, the signature of a giant elliptical galaxy. The kind of shape that emerges only from violence on a scale too large for human minds to fully grasp. If you could rewind the clock and watch this galaxy's history unfold in fast motion, it would look like the most dramatic, slow, burning battle the universe has ever produced. You would see galaxies drifting through the cluster, drawn into the gravitational trap of IC 1001's ancestors. You would watch them stretch, tear, twist, and finally merge into the growing behemoth. With each merger, IC 1001, 101 would pulse and swell, expanding its borders like a kingdom, absorbing every neighboring nation. It would glow brighter at times as bursts of star formation erupted from the compressed gas left behind by the collision. And then, eventually, it would settle again bigger, heavier, but never satisfied. Think of the stars that lived through these collisions. Some were born inside small galaxies that never knew they would one day become part of something vast. Others were formed during the chaos of the mergers themselves, burning hot and fast before fading away into white dwarfs or exploding into supernova. Imagine a star forming in a small galaxy, orbiting peacefully for billions of years, and then suddenly being swept into a gravitational war, flung across light years as its home galaxy is absorbed. That star, once part of a quiet corner of the cosmos, now becomes a wandering member of a titanic empire, forever bound to a new home it never chose. The core of IC 1001 tells the deepest part of this story. At the very heart of this massive galaxy lies a supermassive black hole, billions of times heavier than our Sun. But like the galaxy itself, this black hole was not born so enormous. It grew through consumption. Each time a galaxy was swallowed, its central black hole drifted toward the center of the merger and eventually joined the others. Black holes merged with black holes, combining their masses, becoming more powerful, more dominating. Over billions of years, this single gravitational monster became the anchor of the entire galaxy, pulling stars into tight orbits, shaping the motion of entire regions, and feeding on stray gas clouds with a hunger that never ends. Close your eyes and imagine the final moments when two black holes merge. Space-time itself bends and ripples, creating gravitational waves that travel across the universe. The energy unleashed is so immense that for a brief moment, the energy output surpasses that of every star in the universe combined. And then, after the ripples fade, only one black hole remains. Larger, heavier, hungrier. This process has happened countless times inside IC 1001. Its central black hole is a monument to every galaxy it ever consumed, but the story becomes even more extraordinary when you realize this process is still happening. Even now, billions of years after it first began, IC 1001 continues to grow. Its halo, already stretching across millions of light years, still contains stars that were once part of other galaxies. Its core still glows with the blended light of trillions of suns. Its black hole still sits in the center, waiting patiently for the next galaxy to drift too close. The cluster where IC 1001 lives is still a crowded place. Gravity still pulls its neighbors inward. And over the next tens of billions of years, IC 1001 may devour even more galaxies, becoming larger than anything our species has ever imagined. This process, galactic cannibalism, is not unusual in the cosmos. It is natural. It is common. Even our Milky Way is doing it right now, pulling in small satellite galaxies, tearing them apart and absorbing their stars. One day, the Milky Way itself will merge with the Andromeda Galaxy, creating a new giant galaxy. Galactic cannibalism is simply the way the universe grows its largest structures. But IC 1001 is the masterpiece of this process. It represents the upper limit of what gravity can build, the final result of billions of years of mergers in a region of space so dense with galaxies that collisions were inevitable. Now imagine this entire story from the first small galaxy that existed at the dawn of time to the enormous cosmic titan that stands today, compressed into a single moment. Imagine you're watching it from outside, the way you might watch a time-lapse of a forest growing. At first, the forest is sparse, with only a few trees. Then the trees multiply, some grow tall, others fall, Fires sweep through, storms pass over centuries the forest becomes dense, enormous, massive. That is IC 1101, a forest of stars built through collisions, shaped by destruction and creation, grown to a size that pushes the very boundaries of what gravity can hold together. Every galaxy it consumed changed its story, every collision left a scar, every merger added a new rhythm to the chaotic heartbeat of the giant. And even though the process is violent, even though it is destructive, the result is something breathtaking, something that makes the mind tremble. A galaxy so vast that it swallows the imagination, a galaxy so large that if you placed the Milky Way beside it, our home would look like a grain of dust resting on the surface of a mountain. In this chaotic, swirling, magnificent process of cosmic cannibalism, there is a strange beauty. It is not gentle, but it is honest. It is the way the universe builds giants. It is the way time sculpts the heavens. It is the way ordinary galaxies, drifting through the void, become extraordinary. When you understand how IC 1101 formed, through violence and brilliance, through destruction and rebirth, you begin to see the universe differently. You realize that even the most massive structures began as small pieces. You realize that growth, even on a cosmic scale, is built from countless events that seem insignificant in isolation. And you realize that the universe is not a quiet place. It is alive, dynamic, constantly changing, constantly merging, constantly reinventing itself. IC 1101 is the proof, a galaxy built from the pieces of dozens, maybe hundreds of others, a giant formed from the remains of smaller worlds, a titan forged through cosmic hunger, a reminder that in the universe nothing remains small forever, not if time is allowed to work its magic. And so the story of IC 1101 is not just the story of a galaxy. It is the story of transformation, of evolution, of the raw, relentless power of gravity, of the universe building its greatest cathedral from the shattered pieces of all the galaxies that came before. When you look at IC 1101, you're not seeing it as it is right now, you're seeing a ghost, a memory, a fingerprint of a galaxy frozen in the moment its light left its home, beginning a journey that would outlive entire civilizations, continents, species, and even the very shape of Earth itself. And to understand just how haunting, how poetic, and how overwhelming that journey is, you have to imagine a single beam of light, just one, escaping the edge of that enormous galaxy 1 billion years ago. It breaks free from a star so old and massive that even its own light feels ancient, and as it moves outward, drifting into the black, it carries a message across the cosmos: I existed. It begins its voyage long before humans ever appeared, long before Earth looked the way it does now. Back then, our planet was young and wild. There were no forests, no birds, no dinosaurs. There were no cities, no oceans teeming with the life we know. If anything lived on Earth, it was microscopic, tiny, fragile organisms clinging to existence in seas that were still forming their first breaths of chemistry. And while these little sparks of life floated in water, barely aware of the forces shaping them, far away across the cosmic darkness, that single beam of light from IC 1101 kept traveling. It didn't slow down, it didn't stop, it didn't age. It simply moved forward at the universe's speed limit, carrying the story of a galaxy so massive that future humans would struggle to understand it. As that light left its home galaxy, IC 1101 itself was different from what it is now. Galaxies are not static. They evolve, collide, consume, and transform over time. A billion years ago, IC 1101 may have been in the middle of merging with another smaller galaxy, pulling in its stars, ripping gas from its edges, creating fireworks of starlight as material crashed together under gravity's silent command. Entire star systems were being swallowed. Suns were being rearranged. Black holes were dancing a slow, violent waltz, spiraling around each other deeper and deeper into the galactic core. And in the middle of all that cosmic chaos, that little beam of light, one of trillions streaming from IC 1101, shot forward, escaping its own past before the galaxy could fully reshape itself. By the time the beam had traveled 1,000,000 years into its journey, life on Earth had barely advanced. 1,000,000 years passed, then 10 million, then 50. Earth changed slowly, and yet compared to the scale of the universe, even 50 million years is barely a blink. Land masses began shifting, volcanoes reshaped continents, the sky filled with storms that would rage for centuries. The oceans transformed into darker, deeper, richer worlds. Still, the light continued. Think about that. Before Earth had forests, before fish developed jaws, before any creature walked on land, light from IC 1001 had already been crossing the infinite dark for hundreds of millions of years. Every second it moved at 300 kilometers per second. But space is so staggeringly huge that even at that speed, even after 500 million years of uninterrupted flight, the beam still had half of its journey left. During those hundreds of millions of years, entire kinds of life appeared on Earth, dominated the landscape, and vanished forever. Strange sea creatures emerged with armor-like shells. The first plants began to creep across the edges of shorelines. The atmosphere slowly shifted, turning from poisonous to breathable. Creatures developed backbones, limbs, eyes that could see color for the first time. Meanwhile, the light continued untouched, unchanged, immortal. Then came the age of giants. The beam of light from IC 1101 was about halfway across the gulf of space when the dinosaurs appeared on Earth. These towering rulers of our planet lived, hunted, roared, thrived, and died, all while the light was still crossing the universe. For 160 million years, dinosaurs walked the Earth, and in that entire time, the light was still on its way. Imagine that, the entire lifespan of these magnificent creatures, from the first tiny reptile to the mighty Tyrannosaurus, occurred while the beam continued its unstoppable journey. Then one day, a rock fell from the sky and erased the dinosaurs in an instant. Earth rebooted, life reshaped. New species emerged, mammals took over, the planet slowly shifted toward what we know today. The continents moved toward their present shape. Ocean life exploded in diversity, forests spread across the planet, birds learned to fly, flowers evolved colors to attract insects. And still, the light from IC 1001 continued on and on, as if nothing in the universe could stop it. Millions more years passed. Early humans hadn't even evolved yet. Ice ages swept across Earth. Entire species rose and fell. Giant mammals walked the snow-covered lands. Human ancestors eventually appeared, discovering fire, tools, survival. Civilizations began forming. We built cities, empires, ships, stories, music. We mapped the Earth, sailed across oceans, discovered the laws of physics, explored our world piece by piece, and finally, only a few thousand years ago, we looked up at the night sky and wondered what the lights were. We gave names to stars, told stories about them, worshipped them, feared them. And all along, invisible to our ancestors, the light from IC 1101 was almost here. Then, not long ago, in the last tiny fraction of its billion-year voyage, humans built telescopes. We invented glass lenses, metal mirrors, instruments that could collect the faintest hints of light from the universe. And finally, after 1 billion years of moving through empty space, the beam reached our tiny world. It slipped into our atmosphere, passing through layers of air, and whether that would have been unthinkable when it first began. At last, it touched a mirror on a telescope, an instrument built by the descendants of creatures that didn't even exist when its journey began. In that moment, the telescope captured its ancient message, a message not written in words but in photons in the pure language of light. And when we observed it, we didn't see IC 1101 as it is now. We saw it as it was a billion years ago. We witnessed a version of that galaxy that no longer exists. Think about the weight of that. Right now, IC 1101 may look completely different. It may be larger, it may have swallowed other galaxies, new stars may have been born, others may have died. Its central black hole may have grown, entire civilizations, if they ever existed, could have risen and fallen. And we wouldn't know. For us, IC 1101 is a time capsule, a fossil of light, a frozen portrait of a galaxy captured in a moment so long ago that human imagination can barely grasp it. This is the real power of astronomy. Everything we see in the universe is old. Everything is delayed. The farther we look, the older the image becomes. When we observe distant galaxies, we are not looking at space, we are looking at time. The night sky is not a map of where things are, it's a map of where things were. Every star you see is a memory. Every galaxy you observe is a message from the past, and IC 1101, it is a message from a time before humans, before Earth as we know it, before the world looked anything like it does now. A billion years ago it began speaking, and we only just learned how to listen. When you understand this, the universe stops feeling like a cold, empty void. It becomes a storytelling machine. The cosmos is always whispering to us, not in sound, but in light. Traveling across unimaginable distances, carrying secrets older than our species, older than our planet's continents, older even than the ideas of life and death. And when the light arrives, it asks us one simple question: what will you do with this perspective? Because once you understand how far this light has traveled, how much time it has witnessed, how many worlds it has passed by, the universe suddenly feels alive with meaning. It tells you that nothing is too big to be reached, not even a galaxy 6 million light years wide. It tells you that every moment matters, because every moment contains the possibility of being remembered. It tells you that even the smallest spark can cross eternity if it shines brightly enough. The beam of light that left IC 1101 a billion years ago had no idea humans would ever exist. It had no idea we would build eyes made of glass and metal to catch it. It had no idea its billion-year voyage would end in a human mind. But it did, and that alone should change the way you see yourself in this universe. Because if ancient light can travel for a billion years and still arrive, still be recognized, still be understood, then maybe your existence, your choices, your dreams, even in a universe this vast, carry more weight than you think. There are moments in life when the world feels heavy, when everything around you seems so immediate, so overwhelming, that you forget how small your problems really are in the grand design of things. You forget that above your head, beyond the clouds, beyond the sky, beyond even the edges of what your mind can easily imagine, lies a universe so enormous that even your greatest burdens shrink into grains of dust, and nowhere is this cosmic scale more humbling, more reality shifting than when you consider the true size of IC 1101, the largest galaxy we have ever discovered. Because standing in the shadow of something that big, something so ancient, something so vast your imagination struggles to stretch far enough, you begin to realize that your life, your fears, your disappointments, your hopes, your heartbreaks, your triumphs, they all exist inside a tiny moment, suspended in infinity. But the funny thing is, the universe doesn't use its size to make you feel insignificant. It uses it to teach perspective. It whispers a reminder that while you may be small compared to galaxies, your thoughts, your curiosity, your ability to observe and understand the cosmos are anything but small. You are made of the same atoms forged inside ancient stars. You are built from the universe, and even though the universe dwarfs you, it also lives inside you. Still, it is hard to imagine something as massive as IC 1101, so let's try. Imagine standing on a silent mountaintop at night. The sky above you stretches endlessly, black and bottomless. You can see the Milky Way, a glowing stripe of stars that spirals across the darkness like a river of light. It is beautiful, enormous, breathtaking. And yet, IC 1101 is so big that it could swallow the Milky Way hundreds of times. If our galaxy were a single grain of sand, IC 1101 would be a mountain. If the Milky Way were a single bright spark, IC 1101 would be an explosion that filled the whole sky. It is more like a world within a world, a universe within a universe containing trillions of suns, each one with its own story, its own planets, its own possibilities. When astronomers study IC 1101, they are looking at something so old that it has watched the universe itself evolve. It has witnessed the births and deaths of countless stars. And for billions of years, it has existed quietly in a remote corner of the cosmos, completely indifferent to whether or not humans ever exist to observe it. And yet, here we are, tiny, fragile beings living on a pale, blue world, somehow aware of this giant galaxy millions of light years away. Somehow able to map it, measure it, describe it. The universe did not need to give us this ability. But it did, and that alone is extraordinary, because when you stand beneath the stars and realize how enormous space truly is, something inside you shifts. You begin to understand that the universe is not here to belittle you. It is here to expand you. It's here to lift the weight off your shoulders and show you the bigger picture. The picture that says your life is precious precisely because it is small, temporary, fleeting. The universe reminds you that the difficulties you face today, the ones that feel heavy and permanent, are only moments in time. They will pass, they will change, they will dissolve into memories, the same way ancient starlight dissolves into the darkness of space. And in this understanding, there is a quiet kind of peace. Think of your problems. Think of the things that keep you awake at night. Think of the fears that wrap themselves around your chest and make your breaths shallow. Then imagine stepping outside, looking up at IC 1101 through a powerful telescope, and realizing that the light hitting your eyes left that galaxy a billion years ago. A billion years, long before humans existed, long before the Earth looked anything like it does now, long before even the first dinosaurs walked the land. Your entire existence, every moment, every tear, every smile, has happened in a tiny sliver of time so short that IC 1101 wouldn't even notice. And yet, somehow, this does not make life meaningless. It makes it miraculous. Because out of all the trillions of galaxies in the universe, out of all the endless possibilities of cosmic chaos and collapse, somehow you ended up here, alive, self-aware, capable of experiencing beauty, pain, joy, connection. In a universe filled with silence and darkness, you somehow became conscious. And that consciousness gives you power, the power to think, to question, to explore, to love, to change, to create meaning even where the universe offers none directly. The scale of IC 1101 teaches you humility, but it also teaches you gratitude, gratitude for the breath you take. Gratitude for the loved ones in your life, gratitude for every sunrise, every heartbeat, every chance to rewrite your story. Because when you see yourself within the context of a 6 million light-year-wide galaxy, you understand how precious every second is. You are not here forever, you are a moment, a spark, a flare of consciousness in an otherwise unconscious universe. And that is beautiful. When you observe IC 1101, you are witnessing a colossus born from cosmic violence. Galaxies collide to make it, stars crash together, Black holes merge in ferocious storms of energy. Light bends around invisible structures. Everything is in motion, everything is evolving. Even giant galaxies are not eternal. They grow, they change, they fade, they die, and in that realization lies another important lesson. If even galaxies can change, then so can you. Whatever you are going through, whatever burden, whatever pain, whatever fear, you are not stuck. You are not fixed in place. You are not defined by what happened to you. You, like the universe, are allowed to evolve. The stars in IC 1001 burn brightly for billions of years, but they do not stay the same. They transform, they collapse, they ignite again in new ways. And if stars that are millions of times larger than you can transform, then what makes you think you cannot? The perspective the universe gives you is a kind of emotional gravity. It pulls you back to what matters. It helps you understand that life is not about controlling everything. It is about experiencing everything. It is about marveling at the fact that you are alive at all, that you get to witness the cosmos, that you get to wonder about your place in it. Because here is the truth, the universe does not know you exist. It does not revolve around you, but you get to revolve within it. You get to be a witness to its immensity, its beauty, its terror, its silence, its music. You get to see galaxies so large they stretch your imagination. You get to understand physics, time, light, gravity. You get to explore. You get to ask questions, and in asking questions, you become part of something far bigger than yourself. IC 1001 is not just a giant galaxy, it is a reminder that scale does not diminish you, it elevates you. It reminds you that you are temporary but meaningful, small but significant, fragile but extraordinary. You are a product of the cosmos, created by it, shaped by it, and able to appreciate it. That ability to understand the universe is something no galaxy, no star, no planet possesses. Only you, the biggest galaxy we've discovered, is not meant to make you feel weak. It is meant to show you that even in a universe filled with mind-bending immensity, you still matter. Your choices matter, your kindness matters, your dreams matter. The things you build, the things you love, the things you learn, they all add meaning to a universe that does not create meaning on its own. You are the observer, you are the storyteller, you are the consciousness that gives the cosmos a way to understand itself. And so, when you look at IC 1001, remember this: you may be small, but you have the entire universe inside you. Your atoms were forged in stars. Your existence is the result of billions of years of cosmic evolution. And even though the universe is vast, cold, and ancient, you are the warm, fleeting spark that gets to feel. You get to think, you get to hope, you get to dream. You are not insignificant, you are rare, and the universe, in all its enormity, becomes more beautiful because you are here to witness it. There comes a moment, if you sit beneath the night sky long enough, when the silence begins to speak. Not in words, not in sound, but in a feeling, a quiet rising inside you, a kind of awareness that the universe is bigger than anything you've ever been taught to imagine. The longer you stare at the stars, the more your mind begins to stretch, almost as if some ancient instinct awakens, whispering to you that the world you know is only a small fragment of a much larger, wilder, more mysterious reality. And then you learn about a galaxy like IC 1101, the biggest we have ever discovered. Suddenly, the limits of your imagination feel like fragile walls slowly cracking open. You begin to understand that the universe is not a place with edges or boundaries. It is a playground of endless possibility, a canvas so huge and so beautifully chaotic that the human mind struggles to grasp its enormity, but that struggle is not a weakness, it is the beginning of something powerful. Because whenever the universe forces you to stretch your imagination beyond your comfort zone, it is giving you a gift. It is reminding you that possibility is not small, not narrow, not predictable. Possibility is vast. Possibility is cosmic. And you, with your brief existence, are capable of tapping into that cosmic possibility every time you dare to dream. Think about this. Every major discovery humans have ever made began with imagination. Before we flew, someone imagined flight. Before we sailed across oceans, someone imagined what lay beyond the horizon. Before we built telescopes, someone imagined that the stars were more than tiny lights stuck to a black ceiling. Imagination has always been humanity's bridge to the impossible. And when you confront something as massive as IC 1001, a galaxy so enormous it blurs the line between reality and fantasy, you feel your imagination being pulled higher. You begin to sense that if such a galaxy can exist, then maybe the limits you place on yourself are illusions. Maybe your fears, your doubts, your perceived weaknesses, they are no more permanent than the shapes of clouds drifting through the sky. When you see the universe as a place where a single galaxy can be 6 million light-years wide, you begin to understand that the boundaries of your own life are not as fixed as you once thought. The universe is a teacher, and its lessons are written in light, distance, and time. One of its greatest lessons is this: just because something feels impossible now doesn't mean it will always be impossible. The cosmos is a place where stars ignite from dust, where planets form out of chaos, where galaxies collide and emerge stronger. The universe is literally built from impossible transformations, and if the universe can transform, so can you. Imagine someone standing on Earth thousands of years ago, staring at the night sky with no tools, no telescopes, no science to guide their eyes. All they saw were dots of light. They had no idea those dots were suns. They had no idea the stars lived inside enormous systems called galaxies. They had no idea that beyond their vision lay a cosmos filled with trillions of galaxies, each containing trillions of stars, each star surrounded by planets, each planet carrying possibilities we have not yet imagined, but someone dared to imagine anyway. Someone wondered if the stars were far away. Someone asked if Earth might not be the center of everything. Someone dreamed that there was more beyond what they could see. And because of those imaginations, we eventually built telescopes, we discovered galaxies, we measured their distances, and we found IC 1001, a galaxy so large that even our most creative ancestors could never have pictured it. You see, imagination is not a small tool, it is not a childish thing, it is the engine that drives human progress. The universe invites you to push your imagination to its limits every time you learn something new about it. And the more you learn, the more you realize how limitless your mind truly is. Think about how impossible it once seemed that humans could travel to the moon. Think about how absurd it might have sounded to ancient civilizations that one day we would send robots to other planets, telescopes to space, or probes beyond our solar system. And yet all of it happened, not because the universe changed, but because humans expanded their imagination enough to meet it. And that is why galaxies like IC 1001 are so important, not just in science, but in our emotional and psychological lives. They remind us that the universe is not small, and because the universe is not small, you are not small either. Your ideas, your potential, your capacity to grow, they extend far beyond what you can currently see. When you learn about a galaxy so vast that it contains trillions of stars, each with its own story, you begin to understand that your life exists within a much larger narrative. You realize that your dreams are not foolish, they are reflections of the universe trying to express itself through you. Your desire to grow, to change, to reach for more, that is not you being unrealistic, that is you being cosmic. You are made from the universe after all. Why wouldn't your dreams be bigger than your current reality? Let's imagine something together. Picture yourself sitting alone in a quiet room. Everything around you is familiar. The walls, the furniture, the sound of your own breath. It feels small, contained, simple. Then imagine that a window opens above you, revealing the entire universe. Suddenly, your room seems tiny compared to the endless sky, but you don't feel trapped. You feel expanded. You feel awakened. That is what learning about IC 1101 does to your mind. It opens a window, and once that window is open, you cannot close it again. You can no longer pretend that life is small. You can no longer pretend that your possibilities are limited. Because once you've seen how big the universe is, you realize the biggest limits you face are the ones you place on yourself. You begin to ask better questions. What else is out there? What else am I capable of? What else have I been too afraid to imagine? The universe inspires you to break barriers not because the stars demand it, but because something inside you recognizes the truth. Expansion is natural. Growth is natural. You were never meant to stay small. The universe built you from the ashes of stars. Your atoms were forged in explosions more powerful than anything we can recreate. You are literally made from chaos, rebirth, and infinite possibility. That is why the universe feels familiar to you. That is why its vastness does not crush you, it calls to you. It feels like home. When you look at IC 1101, you are not just observing a galaxy. You are observing a mirror of possibility. You are seeing what the universe is capable of creating without limits, and in that reflection, you see what you are capable of creating in your own life. The universe shows you that growth can be enormous, that time can reshape everything, that pressure can turn darkness into light, that collisions can create new beauty, that the impossible today can become the normal tomorrow. The more you learn about galaxies, the more your imagination evolves. And as your imagination evolves, so do you. You start dreaming bigger. You start believing in things you once dismissed. You stop letting fear dictate your future. You stop letting temporary failures define your worth. You begin to realize that the universe has never once apologized for its immensity. It does not shrink itself to make things easier. It expands endlessly. It creates endlessly. It transforms endlessly. And so can you. The universe isn't asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be curious, to be open, to be courageous enough to imagine what your life could be if you allowed yourself to expand beyond your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, your past. The universe is asking you to evolve the same way it does, slowly, steadily, beautifully. When you stand in the presence of a galaxy like IC 1101, you don't just witness the vastness of space. You witness the vastness of your own potential. Your imagination begins to realize there is no finish line, no final form, no ceiling. The universe is infinite, and your ability to grow is infinite too. That is the true gift of the cosmos. Not its beauty, not its size, not even its mystery. The real gift the universe gives you is perspective, the perspective that you can always dream bigger, reach farther, become more than you were yesterday. And maybe, one day, long into the future, someone will look up at the sky from a distant world orbiting a distant star and imagine what lies beyond their horizon. And maybe they will discover something even bigger than IC 1101, something that once again pushes the boundaries of imagination, something that forces another generation to dream beyond what seemed possible. And just like that, the universe will continue doing what it has always done, expanding, not just physically, but within the minds of those who dare to look up. In the end, the universe is not just out there, it is inside you. And every time you allow yourself to dream, you are expanding just a little more, becoming a bit more cosmic, a bit more infinite, a bit more aligned with the grand possibilities of existence. You are not just living in the universe, you are living with it, growing with it, becoming with it. And that is why the biggest galaxy we've discovered is bigger than your imagination, because it exists to show you that your imagination can always grow bigger too.